Hi everyone. Good morning. I'm Samantha from SGInnovate's talent networking team, and welcome to the Startup Showcase. At SGInnovate, we work closely with deep tech startups to place the right talent into the right roles. Now, today's session is titled Startup Showcase, Summation, and Infinity Series because we want to give you a glimpse of the startups and projects available on our talent programs. The Summation program started back in 2017 while the deep tech sector was still growing. It was created to showcase the exciting projects and startups that Singapore was building at that time, and to also attract top talents to learn and build these newer technologies. Every new technology, there is scarcity in roles, and while we want to showcase our startups, we also want to give our young people a chance to work on these amazing technologies and build up their existing skill sets. Even though classroom projects are great, nothing beats the experience of working on a real world project and the satisfaction to see how your skills and contribution can impact people and the world around you. Summation offers you this chance to take on such specializations in areas such as AI, cybersecurity, quantum technologies, and more. Now, the program has attracted talents from various backgrounds to work on cutting edge projects, and I'd like to show you some of them in action. Many of them are working on projects that are not directly related to their field of studies, but have a genuine interest in. All right, can we show the next slide? Yeah, the one with all the students. Yep, this one. Thank you. Now, at the top left, we actually have Darren, who's an SIT Year 1 student working on a robotics drone project. Top right, we have Pearly, who did her Bachelor's of Law in Oxford and Master's in Business Analytics at Columbia, doing a blockchain and an AI project. In the middle, we actually have Euro, who did a long-range Wi-Fi, which was a hardware project that requires soldering of parts and embedded programming. Bottom left, we have Hui Yang, who was a NTU math major working on an AI project. And bottom right, we have Elvin from DigiPen, who worked on a blockchain project. Now, we have had over 100 tech talents join Summation through 5 successful runs. And we've realized that there is still a high demand for talents in vital tech roles, such as software development, data engineering, and analytics, UI UX design, and more. It really takes more than a specialist to build a product, let alone a company that has a global impact. While Summation offers specializations in specific newer technologies, the Infinity series was created to offer students first-hand experiences in building deep tech products within technical teams. You can still be a part of a cool team working on a deep tech solution that has an impact around the world. Through Infinity series, you will be exposed to the end-to-end lifecycle while developing a deep tech product alongside experienced mentors like the CTOs and technical leads within the startups. Now, in today's showcase, you will hear from some of our founders and CEOs who are actively hiring students, fresh graduates for their own deep tech projects through Summation and Infinity series. Not only will you hear about their companies and the impact that they're making, you will also hear about the projects that they're hiring for and the skill sets needed for the job. Do remember to look out for the post throughout the session, and you can click on the post tab on the right. Now, today we have 5 very exciting startups featured today, and I'm so looking forward to that. If you have any questions to any of the founders or CEO, do ask your questions in the Q&A, and you can actually check out their booths at the end of the session as well. Now, without further ado, I would like to introduce our first speaker for this session, Matthias Chin, founder and CEO of CLOUDSINE. Matthias, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Samantha. My name is Matthias Chin, CEO and founder of CLOUDSINE Private Limited. So good to see all of you virtually on this new frontier. And today I would like to give you an introduction of what we do at CLOUDSINE and to share some of the real-world cloud and cybersecurity projects by CLOUDSINE under the SGInnovate programs. So perhaps let me start off with an intro of who we are first. And then after that, I'll give you a glimpse of our working culture and some of the exciting projects that we have in store. Okay, I'm clicking next slide. Okay. Yeah, so we are a cloud and cyber security tech company based in Singapore. What is unique is that besides doing some consulting work, we have our own software product. It's called Web Orion that actually help enterprise customers to secure their websites and as they move into the cloud. We are looking for tech-savvy and fun-loving people to join our team and to grow in the area of deep tech areas of cloud cybersecurity. Okay, so we have been around for more than 7 years, actually coming to 8th year now. Yeah, started in 2012 as Ben Cyber. Along the way, we have collected many awards under Red Herring, Yahoo, some security magazines, and so on. And in 2019, we evolved to CLOUDSINE so that we have a better play in the cloud area, because cloud we see as a major transformational area in the coming days. Okay. And among our customers are mainly large government and enterprise customers. Customer base spreads across Asia Pacific, Singapore government, Australia government, telcos in Philippines, in Hong Kong, in Indonesia and India, right? The sectors they are in includes aviation, where we help them to secure their websites, retail, that could be fast food chains and so on. We again help them to secure their cloud and websites, service provider like large telecoms in Philippines, and quite a number of government customers in Singapore and Australia government. Okay, so what do we do for them? So we help them to move into the cloud, right? It may sound very trivial, but actually when we move to the cloud, a lot of things change, right? In how we plan for the budget, how we look at continuous innovation and monitoring. We help them to, in the second pillar, help them secure themselves in the cloud as well. And that's where Web Orion, our own software and intellectual property, becomes very useful, because it helps them to look at securing, especially their web applications in the cloud. And innovate as well. How do they do blockchain, data analytics, or AI in the cloud as well? So these are the few broad areas we are in. A bit of our working culture. We have this tagline: we like to work hard and play hard. So as a startup, we work very hard, and a lot of people are multitasking. So even as an engineer, sometimes we get involved in trade shows and so on, because we need everyone to be in touch with the market, to speak to customers, to know what's the sentiments in our customer in the market. But after that, when we chill, right, we go for meals together, we play badminton, we go for walks, and so on. Our team size is about 10 people, a mix of age group in the 40s, who are the leaders, who lead lend the experienced hands, and we have a young bunch of people as well in the in the 20s and the 30s. So it's a very energetic bunch that we are working with. We have taken quite a fair bit of trainees and interns over the past few years from both the universities and the polytechnics and so on. So they are typically given very challenging project, very real-world projects that makes an impact to the company and to our customers. Okay, so most of these are not just pure academic exercises, but the takeaway that many of them gave us was that, hey, wow, this is the first time they get to work on such a real-world project. It's quite an eye-opener for them, very different from what they do in school. Okay, and most of them had fun working with us, and we are still in touch with quite a number of them. Yeah, let me click on the next slide. Okay, so a quick glimpse of the roles and projects we have. Okay, so this is a perm role. We also have a similar internship role in traineeship role under the Summation and Infinity series. Okay, so basically we are looking for people who have some software background and they are keen to do some programming in the cloud, right? So, and this project specifically talks about building a master database for fintech client who is interested in next generation private markets intelligence. So this includes a lot of data collection, ingestion from various news sources. We do use a bit of AI and NLP analysis to extract the data, right? But as a cloud engineer or trainee, right, you work to extract the data, do the extract transform layer first before we hand over to the AI and NLP scientists. right? So this is for full-time, but for traineeships, we are open to take in interns in the second year onwards, second, third, and fourth year in com science, engineering, or math, right? And the bottom part, the takeaway for this is that you will get a very good deep tech exposure. Okay, you will work with real world data and cloud technologies such as AWS and Azure. Okay, let me go on to the next row. Okay, this is the other role we have, lead software engineer, deep learning NLP based, right? So similarly, we have a summation role for this as well. This one is that we have a set of data where we have about 10 million data points on website defaced over the past 10 years, right? So we are looking at how we can build and train new deep learning models on this, right? Some data analytics on this for purposes of threat intelligence, analysis, and coming out with better detection algorithms, right? Okay, and again, the full-time requirements, if master's, PhD, I think that'll be for the full-time. For traineeships, again, we are open to take in students in the second year, at least second year onwards, or in currently doing a master's or PhDs. Okay, the takeaway for this project is that I think in AI and data analytics, it's always about data. We have a very interesting set of data that we have just obtained, and we'll be looking to start this project soon to see how we can make sense or make the best use in terms of AI analytics on this data to create better software or better algorithms to detection and for threat intelligence. So this is going to be a very, very exciting project coming up. Okay, and that's a quick brief of some of the projects that we do. We have more. If you want to find out more about us, feel free to visit our exhibition booth in the new virtual exhibition booth in New Frontier. You can also reach out to us at hr@cloudsine.tech or myself at matthias@cloudsine.tech. Thank you so much, and I hope you had a nice day ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Matthias. That was wonderful sharing, and I really love your company culture. You work hard and you play hard.
Thanks.
Thank you so much. Now let us introduce our second speaker for today, Dr. Jayantika Soni, co-founder and CTO of RESYNC Technologies. Okay, take it away.
Hello, good morning, everyone. I am Jayantika. I am the co-founder and CTO of RESYNC. I'll also be doing a poll later, but I will be asking about what kind of energy assets at RESYNC we can manage. So let's get started. RESYNC is an AI-driven energy cloud for distributed energy resources. The whole energy infrastructure is going through a drastic transformation, from centralized power plants to distributed and decentralized resources, such as solar, electric vehicles. All of it is driven by lower prices of renewables that we see, as well as huge adoption of energy storage, both in vehicle format as well as static storage. There's a whole push towards digitalization of the ecosystem. And of course, there is a huge implementation of artificial intelligence and machine learning in it. Okay, next slide. Yeah. So what we do at RESYNC is the whole value chain. We start from aggregating the data over multiple common source communication protocols, such as Modbus, CAN bus, BACnet, etc. We then process that data using machine learning algorithms to forecast it, to predictive analytics. And further, it is visualized on our web and mobile-based platform, where the customer can interact with the insights generated by us, take real-time control. They can have the insight into the real-time data as well, generate reports, and makes their job easy. So it can do everything by monitoring, controlling, and optimizing distributed energy. Why RESYNC is more of a commercial question for the customers is the solution that we provide in terms of our machine learning algorithms is pretty innovative. We do everything end-to-end, like from analyzing the data, we forecast solar, we predict how the energy assets are going to generate. It's affordable because everything is a cloud-based platform rather than a single server-based solution that are currently available in most of the market. And with a single platform, you can scale across your different sites. It's customizable, so it's very user-friendly and very reliable in terms of innovation. So some of the use cases that we have provided our energy management platform is across multiple industries. So most of our work is in a B2B space where we work directly with other industry players and improve their operation and maintenance of services. So whatever you develop at RESYNC, even interns, full-time, actually goes into a product, and it impacts the way energy is being consumed. So you are able to improve the efficiency of renewable energy assets. So we work with big companies such as Cleantech Solar, SemCorp to improve their energy asset performance. We also work in the smart building domain because there is a lot of sensor data that can be captured, and it's one of the biggest energy consumption sector in the urban environment and the city environment. Telecom operators are one of our bigger customers who rely on traditionally a lot of different sources to provide you 24/7 access to your network. So they use diesel generator, they use solar, they use grid-tied operation, so there is to avoid downtime. And we come in and we optimize their all different energy assets together to to have the lowest cost of energy. Similarly, in electric vehicle domain and microgrid domain. So I'm going to dive deep into some of the positions that we have open right now at RESYNC and explain a bit more about where it fits in the overall product value chain. So the first position is for an IoT engineer, where you will be working on improving the energy efficiency and enhancing the cybersecurity of our device, basically. So the RESYNC device integrates seamlessly with different energy assets such as grid, solar, battery, electric vehicles. It collects data from them in real time over common communication protocols such as Modbus, BACnet, Profibus, etc. That data is used to control the energy assets in real time, as well as creates a data pipeline to the cloud. The device is also able to receive the data from the cloud and take real-time action based on whatever the decision is taken on the platform by the end user. So this acts as the bridge linking and improving the energy efficiency. So you will be working on the software that we develop for this hardware, as well as optimizing the control algorithms that go on it. And you will be also doing exciting research about integrating more solution to make it more plug and play. The second project is more on the machine learning domain. So for the machine learning domain, you will be working on forecasting of solar and load energy assets. You will be making use of different machine learning models for optimizing energy assets, specifically demand-side management. So you would be doing non-intrusive load monitoring, integrating the machine learning models directly to production so the customer have insights into their data in real time. And we have two positions open under Infinity Project, for which we are also hiring for a full-time role as well. So it's a software engineer position where you'll be primarily working on creating beautiful front ends. You would require to develop APIs and optimize the data fetching as well as performance optimization on this. The stack that we primarily use is Angular for the web front end, Flutter for the mobile front end, Node for the backend, and the database that we use is InfluxDB right now. So there are two positions which are open under the Infinity Project. There's a full-time position also available for the same role. It's very exciting to develop this software, to see that the customer, how kind of data that they interact with, and how they learn from it. A bit about the team. We are a huge team of 15 people right now, which is based both in Singapore and in India. So like we have a handle of how to work remotely very well as well. It's a multidisciplinary team. So as you saw in the product, it ranges everything from IoT, machine learning, software development, and all of us work together to deliver this solution. And we encourage a learning culture in our team. We can speak a bit more about it on our booth. Here's our contact information. You can also look us up under the Summation and Infinity programs. We are also available to answer any questions that you have later. Okay, thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, Jay. I think right before she started, she actually has a poll. Shall we go to the poll right now?
Sure, let's do that.
All right, the question was, what energy assets can RESYNC's energy cloud manage? It was 1, solar, 2, telecom, 3, smart buildings, and 4, all of the above. I think the majority has spoken and they chose all of the above. Is that correct?
That's correct. And I'm glad that the message got across that we can do every energy under the roof, basically.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Jay.
Thank you, Samantha.
We'll move on. Thank you. We'll move on to the third speaker for today, Dr. Joe Fitzsimons, CEO of RESYNC Quantum Computing. Now, Joe, take it away.
Thanks very much. So my slides aren't showing? Okay. So I wanted to talk to you about career opportunities at RESYNC, and particularly our participation in the Summation program. RESYNC is a quantum computing company. So what that means is that we work on some of the most advanced computer processors in the world. Quantum computing is a generalization of what it means to compute, and it's made possible by certain effects from quantum physics. This means there needs to be special purpose hardware built in order to be able to harness these physical effects. But it's really transformational in terms of computing power if we can get there. At the moment, we're right at a very exciting juncture where quantum computers are for the first time being entering the regime where they're hard to simulate. So they're just touching the point where they're potentially useful for industry applications. But there's a very sharp transition. So once you get a little bit further down the road, then they become immensely powerful. What we do at RESYNC is to try to make quantum computing useful. One of the things about quantum computing that makes it difficult to adopt is the fact that it works in a fundamentally different way from conventional computing. It has operations that simply don't exist for conventional computers. And you need to think about constructing algorithms in a very different way. And the reality is, we're not born with that intuition. We don't develop it over time unless we're really working in the field for a long time. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to make it easier for conventional software engineers, for quantum computing researchers, and for hardware manufacturers to be able to harness the power of these devices. Our approach to doing this is to try to build a unified programming language that is essentially a conventional programming language that we can compile and run both on conventional hardware, on CPUs or GPUs, but also that we can accelerate to run on quantum hardware. And that means structuring the language in such a way that we can recognize where it's possible to implement different kinds of algorithmic techniques that are useful in quantum computing so that they can really take advantage of the new hardware. Our approach is to go all the way from conventional source code. In this case, we take MATLAB or Octave code, and we try to get all the way down to native operations on physical hardware. So that means taking in the conventional source code, parsing it, trying to produce an abstract syntax tree to represent the processing that it intends to implement, and then recognizing how we can manipulate that to form a quantum algorithm that accomplishes the same task, but in a different way. We then try to compile this down to individual logic gates that are implemented on the quantum processor. We need to deal with things like memory management and where information is physically stored on the processor. And ultimately, we need to compile it down to, for example, microwave signals, microwave pulses that are sent to physical processors. In often cases, these are superconducting processors that are at very, very, very low temperatures, in order to implement the gates that ultimately implement the computer program. The team at the moment is pretty technical. So there's at the moment there's 5 PhD holders. Of these, we average, actually the median is about 8 years postdoctoral experience. So we've all worked in this area for a very long time. But we've also got a full stack developer and compiler engineer. And Kyle was previously our intern. So he had worked with us last year as an intern and is now joining us full-time as staff. In terms of the roles that are open at the moment, we're participating in the Summation program. So we have two projects on there. The first is to explore classical simulation of quantum computing. So we know that quantum computers are hard to simulate, but they're not impossible to simulate. It might take exponentially long, but we would like to get that exponent as small as possible. So we would like to be able to simulate small-scale quantum hardware as efficiently as possible. Now, we've been developing new ideas for simulation that go a little bit beyond the current state of the art. So we want to try to push the performance of quantum computing simulators. The other project we have is in terms of quantum algorithms and data structures. And this is maybe very interesting to some people, because what we're exploring is how we can use techniques from quantum algorithms, or how we can use quantum states to store information, to store data in such a way that we can produce data structures that have better performance trade-offs than any possible classical data structure. And this is very important for our compiler flow, because one of the things we do in order to improve performance is to try to recognize the different data types that the user is manipulating and try to replace these with more efficient versions that rely on quantum states and quantum information processing. Beyond these, we also have openings for UI, UX developers, web development, compiler engineering, marketing, communications, and also we're also always looking for quantum people. So if you happen to have a background in quantum computing, definitely reach out. But these are full-time roles. So I'll just close you with a little picture of what team life looks like, or what it did look like prior to COVID. But we try to have some kind of team building going on at a fairly regular level. Even with COVID, we're now organizing some kind of remote scavenger hunt, things like this that we can do over Zoom. So it's a pretty social team. Everyone gets on reasonably well together, and it's it's not a bad environment to be in. So I will leave it at that, but I would encourage anyone that is interested in our summation projects to apply for them, or in any of the other roles to reach out to us at careers@horizonquantum.com. One thing I would say is that we don't have a booth today, so please do feel free to reach out directly. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Joe. I think we do have a slight time, some time available. Now, if you could just tell me in 3 words, how would you describe your company culture? Since I saw that really cool photo just now that you showed for Team Life just now.
I'm not sure I can do it in 3 words.
Maybe just one.
Our company is a little bit different than many other startups. Our average age tends to be higher. The level of experience of people joining the team is high. So as I said, it's an average of 8 years postdoctoral experience for the kind of quantum members of the team, which is a lot. But that also means we're in a great position to offer mentoring, because a lot of people on the team not only have a lot of experience, but they've also mentored students before, even supervised PhD students before. I've run a research group before. I used to be a professor. So I've graduated a whole bunch of students. So that's one area where we're really strong. We have a very experienced team. and there's a lot to learn. But at the same time, everyone's pretty friendly. It's pretty social. It's pretty informal atmosphere. Yeah.
That's cool. Thank you so much for sharing that. If you're a quantum enthusiast, do look out for Joe. Thank you so much. Right now, we have our fourth speaker for today. Let's welcome Chang Zi Qian, co-founder and CEO of INTELLEX. Zi Qian, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Sam. Good morning, everybody. My name is Zi Qian. I'm the co-founder and CEO of INTELLEX. I was a lawyer by training, and that led me to the company that we founded, INTELLEX, which is a legal tech startup. So before I start introducing our company, I'd like to share a story that happened this morning. I woke up on a Saturday morning and I checked my Facebook, and I was reminded of a friend anniversary with our first overseas engineer that joined INTELLEX about 2 years ago. 2 years ago, this was the first time that he left his hometown in Vietnam to join us. The management team went to the airport to pick him up. And a few weeks ago, we actually had a farewell lunch for him as he's moving back to Vietnam. And during that farewell get-together, I actually asked him, why did he choose INTELLEX and Singapore when he joined us about slightly more than two years ago? He shared that through the interview experience, he thinks that INTELLEX can be the company that allows him to firstly work in a multidisciplinary team. Number two, make friends and learn from the colleagues. And also, thirdly, be closer to product management. I was very touched when he shared this a few weeks ago during his farewell, and I think that's a very good representation of here at INTELLEX. So at INTELLEX, so it's been 5 years since our founding of the company in 2015. As Singapore's first legal tech AI company, we have been trudging along from the early days, even before the word legal tech became a fashionable term. Recently, a few months ago, we closed our Series A funding of $2.1 million US dollars, and currently we are a team of 15 individuals spanning across different disciplines. This time around, for the Summation and the Infinity program, we're both data science and software engineering interns. And at INTELLEX being a startup over the past 5 years, interns has been a strong driving force in actually putting together a team. And from day one, interns are regarded as full-fledged team members. And everybody in INTELLEX knows about this point very clearly. We need to know, let everybody know, including the interns who are full-fledged team members, know why they are doing what they are doing. So we will welcome all interns joining INTELLEX to be a co-engineer in whatever we are building. So at INTELLEX, we build knowledge management systems for specifically the legal industry. What we're trying to do here is we support professionals to maximize their collective knowledge intelligently. This may sound like a bunch of big words in the professional industry, but I have to invite you to consider this. In school, you have a lot of your own notes, your own music videos, or your own files within your own Mac or your own PC. Sometimes, you may even have problems trying to locate your specific file in your computer. What do? Imagine that problem and multiply that by an entire corporation, legal institution. Big companies do have problems looking for their knowledge as well, because it is actually very tedious to manually categorize and file the various documents into its file and folder structures. Therefore, a lot depends on the individual's memory, and that creates additional costs for different legal institutions. So what we're trying to solve is actually an individual problem multiplied into an institutional problem of knowledge management and knowledge retrieval. So what we have built is actually a system. This is what the interns can expect to be working on in INTELLEX. This is a screenshot of the knowledge management platform that we have built, specifically on our proprietary technology in using knowledge graphs to help in knowledge retrieval, in categorization, and search. This is also the product and the technology that got the interest of one of our major investors, Thomson Reuters, that took part in the Series A fundraising round earlier this year. So the company undergone technical due diligence from the data science and the software engineering team from Thomson Reuters head office in New York and Toronto. And the innovation that we bring about in legal knowledge management caught their interest, which eventually led to the subsequent fundraising round. If you do join INTELLEX, these are the people that you'll be working with. As mentioned, we are a cross multidisciplinary team. The data science and the software engineering interns can expect to work with the software engineering team, the product management and design team, the data science team, and lastly, a bunch of lawyers. And at INTELLEX, we call our lawyers the legal knowledge engineers. So the lawyers do actually have a basic understanding of coding, and they are actually the ones that are actually creating the knowledge graph with the data science team to power search and categorization in INTELLEX. So I come to my last slide. Like all good tech companies, we will always ask for feedback, and it's always good to look at feedback. So if you take some time later, Google, one of our SGInnovate interns that joined us for 6 months last year, Jane Xia, she actually gave an interview to the team before she left. She's currently a technology analyst doing coding work at Goldman Sachs, and she actually spent a good part of 2019 with us as a data science intern to find out her experience with INTELLEX. So Google Jane Xia at Medium and INTELLEX with 3 L's. So before I end, I would like to share a story, a parting story with everyone on why there are 3 L's in INTELLEX. When we started the company 5 years ago, as a bunch of first-time founders into a new domain that is not exactly very popular and extremely niche, we thought we actually needed the buy-in of the legal community. And we thought it's important to put it in our name to let the law firms, law schools, and law courts know we need to move towards intelligent law. And that's why in INTELLEX, specifically, there are 3 L's. So don't misspell our company's name when you search for James' Medium article. So if you're looking for an opportunity to work alongside engineers, be treated as a full-fledged team member from day one, hope you can consider INTELLEX, and we're happy to have a chat with you in our virtual booth later, where our technology lead will be sharing on some of the technical aspects and the technical projects that we have at INTELLEX. Thank you so much. Looking forward to chat. Thank you.
Thank you, Zi Qian. I really love the stories that you shared. So if you look forward to that, you can actually head into the exhibition booth. Remember, it's INTELLEX with 3 L's. All right. Thank you so much, Zi Qian. Now, last but not least, let's welcome Jeremy Lim, co-founder and CEO of AMILI. Jeremy, the stage
Thank you,
is
Samantha. And a very good morning to everyone. Right, I'm here to share more about AMILI, which is a compression of the term Asian Microbiome Library. Okay, and I am a medical doctor, so I won't pretend that I'm a deep science and I'm a data science guy, but I'm really the problem looking for a solution. And if I can share, we are Singapore and Southeast Asia's first precision microbiome company. So what exactly is it that we do? Can go the next slide, please. Right, when I was in medical school, I was taught that we have trillions of bacteria and other microbes that live in our gut, and that they didn't do anything, they didn't bother us, and we didn't bother them. Now I know that a lot of things you learn in school are completely wrong, and today we understand the gut really microbiome as the forgotten organ. And what's really interesting is the level of complexity that's in the gut microbiome, beyond the fact that the gut microbiome weighs about 2 kilograms, which is a very good size. The complexity, a single microbiome profile is about 1 terabyte worth of data. And to give a sense of the complexity of the issues that we are trying to address, human genome has about 20,000 genes. An average gut microbiome can have as many as 2 million genes. So the notion of the complexity is really phenomenal. And I guess for those of us who had studied the life sciences, it's almost like looking at pond water with the naked eye. But today, but once you look at it through a light microscope, you suddenly find that pond water is teeming with life. And we're at this stage with the gut microbiome, with advances in really genetic sequencing, with advances in computing, we suddenly realize that the gut microbiome is responsible and influences so many states of health as well as disease. Beyond digestion, it influences the immune system, it affects the brain-gut axis, and in particular autism, and it also has an impact on overall health. Next slide, please. So why the gut microbiome is because it's so exciting, and there have been so many major studies that have come out virtually every other week, and the gut microbiome has become mainstream. You can see from that is now in BBC, it's in the Wall Street Journal, and maybe at this point I should share a little about AMILI's genesis. Right, we were really a group of doctors as well as scientists coming out of the National University Singapore. And my co-founder, David Ong, who is the head of gastroenterology in the National University Hospital, was actually a pioneer. Back in 2014, he did the seminal microbiome research as well as the microbiome transplants right here in Singapore. But unfortunately, I guess that Singapore didn't keep the momentum. The rest of the world moved very, very quickly, and Singapore and Asia really fell behind. And the reason why we set up AMILI was to really bring some of the solutions coming out of the gut microbiome into relevance for Asia, right? And I want to emphasize on this term, precision. Many of you would be familiar with a cultured milk drink that is teeming with a particular bacterial strain. But have you asked yourself, how can everyone's gut microbiome be different because it's so influenced by diet as well as the environment? And you all benefit from the same cultured milk drink, that whether you're sitting in Singapore, in Sydney, or in San Francisco, or in sub-Saharan Africa. And hence, we are the first precision microbiome company in this part of the world. And what we want to do is to harness the power of the gut microbiome to improve human health. Next slide, please. This slide massively illustrates that microbiome research is very, very topical in the world today, but it's severely underdeveloped here in Asia. And as I had alluded to earlier, the gut microbiome is so influenced by diet as well as the environment. We in Asia simply cannot not have our own research to guide therapies for ourselves. Next slide, please. So if I can sum up who exactly AMILI is, we are the first precision gut microbiome company, right? We're a bunch of doctors, scientists, and really entrepreneurs. I'm specifically not talking about the data science aspects because because I'm not qualified to do so. I'm really the end user. And the doctors in AMILI really drive the clinical use cases. We already have abundance of patients and clinical studies and lots of data. And the challenge then is to get the right methodologies, right? The right people to come in to work with us to analyze these and to really impact human health. Next slide, please. Right, I won't bore you with all these details, but we're exactly a year old. We closed a funding round in December, very, very fortunately, right before COVID. And since then, we've been very fortunate with some publicity in the newspapers. Very interestingly, Singaporeans came forward and contributed their data and their gut microbiomes to us to help us to drive the science even further. We have won a couple of grants along the way, but the real heavy duty lifting starts right now. Our own data science team is made up of persons from A-Star, from the National Precision Medicine Initiative, persons that we have borrowed out of Monash and out of the NUS. And now that we have collected so much data, now it's time to apply the data and the analytics to solve real world problems. So what exactly do we do? We have a microbiome bank. We have a gut microbiome sequencing service that allows really consumers to know what their gut microbiome looks like, and hence what are the sorts of foods, what are the sort of activities that they should be doing. And all of these then feed into the AMILI reference library, which is the world's first Asian-focused multi-ethnic gut microbiome data reference library. Next slide, please. Right, and what we want to do is really to unlock the science. It really doesn't make sense that we have the forgotten organ that influences so many things. Harnessing that, and one of the areas that I'm most excited about is in the field of autism. And in a major paper that was published in Cell last year, researchers did a simple but very elegant study. They took the microbiome from a group of children who had autism, transplanted it into germ-free mice, and lo and behold, the mice developed autistic symptoms. And this is really such a profound change in the scientific paradigm. We have always thought that autism is a non-communicable disease, and if we can induce autism, does it mean that we could actually study it even deeper and find cures or therapies to improve autistic symptoms? And given that autism is 1 in 53 live births in the US today, that's definitely a problem that is worth solving. Last slide, please. Right. So really, this is what we are about. We want to harness the power of the microbiome to improve human health. And the skill sets that we're looking for are really in engineering as well as in really, really deep data science. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Jeremy. I love that you made it relevant on a particular drink. Thank you so much. Now we do have some questions in the Q&A, so we'd like to address them. The first question is actually to Jay. All right, can we have Jay's screen up? Yeah, now the question is, apart from digesting data information, how do you provide solutions to customers? Example, data center energy management.
Okay. So what we do is both real-time control of different energy assets as well as integration of their data. So the device that I mentioned during my presentation actually interacts with different energy assets in real time. So for example, in a data center, there are multiple energy consumption assets like all your servers. They also have diesel generators which are running to keep the backup power. So in case of grid failure, in case of some abrupt event, as well as battery storage. So they have 4 or 5 different combinations of energy resources like solar, genset, battery. So in real time, we provide the control. Apart from that, on collecting their specific data, like understanding their consumption patterns and understanding their generation patterns, our machine learning algorithms can update the set points of real-time control. So it becomes like customized to every user without us ever custom designing it. So it's not just like it's a platform to visualize your data, but it's a next step in, okay, you put RESYNC solution and you forget about energy efficiency. It will work on its own, basically. I hope that answers it. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Jay. Now, the next question is actually to Joe. Now, the question is, as a physics undergraduate, how much knowledge of computational mechanics does one need to get into quantum computing? Also, is a bachelor's degree in physics enough to get started in the quantum computing industry, or is a PhD necessary?
They're both good questions. So in terms of undergraduate background, I think the most, if you're coming from a physics background, then the most important thing to have taken is quantum mechanics. Computational physics is less important. It's good to have some programming skills, but quantum computing is really based on quantum physics. So having some grasp of quantum physics going in is helpful. If you're coming from a computer science background, then there's other things that are interesting to have in your background. For us, certainly algorithms and data structures are things we care a lot about. So that's a good background for us. There are some courses. There's some universities that offer courses in quantum computing specifically, or quantum information, and that's definitely a good starting point for us. I mentioned during my talk that most of our team is extremely experienced. Most of the technical team have PhDs. Most of them have a lot of experience past their PhD. And the reason for this is that it takes a long time to get good at quantum computing. There's different ways you can do that. Either you can go do a PhD, or you can maybe start working in the industry at an earlier stage. But there's a lot to learn. So for sure, coming out of an undergrad, you won't have the kind of background both in the algorithm side, but also in terms of understanding how the hardware that implements these things work. And that's not to be expected, but you build it up over time the more you work with these systems. So yeah, one route is to go do a PhD. Another route is to work in a company where your existing skills are useful as well. So, if we're hiring someone straight out of an undergraduate degree, we're not necessarily expecting them to be, like a leading expert in quantum algorithms or in superconducting qubits or in quantum control or something like this. Obviously, that's not expected to be the case, but you'll be on a team with people that are, and that's a place to learn. Another option is to, one way that things can happen with us as well is to potentially do a PhD jointly while at the company. So being in the company and then doing it at a university and being like half-time in each locations. That's a possibility with us as well.
Thank you, Joe. These are really great options. Thank you for sharing. Thank you to all the speakers earlier on as well. Now we've come to the end of the segment, and today we've heard from 5 very diverse deep tech startups cutting across various technologies and industries. But these are just really sneak previews of the many more projects available at Summation and Infinity series. There are over 60 projects on Summation and more than 50 projects featured on Infinity series. Do check out these exciting projects and see what interests you. Many of the startups, like the ones you've heard today, are looking for full-time role as well. So you can check out the jobs tab to find out really more about them. The student applications close next week on 18 September for both the Summation and Infinity series. Now we've come to the end of the segment, and we would like to show the screen for the scavenger hunt, and you now have the 9th letter for the scavenger hunt. So everyone, you have the letter Y. Thank you once again to all the speakers earlier on. Do stick around for the Summation Mentor and Apprentice Showdown in the same auditorium and hear firsthand about how it was like being in the program and what the apprentices and mentors say about each other. You can also participate and vote for your best nominee. Ladies and gentlemen, please give us a moment to reset the stage for the next segment. We will be back shortly. Thank you and enjoy the rest of the conference.